Hi. I've been known in the past to tell my students that I'm here to educate you and to entertain me. And I'm going to try to accomplish just that with this video. So let's look at the example. Sherry has 100,000. Let's stop right there because that's an interesting story in itself. You see, Sherry was a waitress at the only joint in town. And that's where she met this guy, Sonny. Well, they hooked up, but they didn't have a lot going for them, if you know what I mean. And so they ended up getting into some business dealings with these Cuban refugees that Sonny knew who were dealing in contraband. Well, one day, Sherry's driving a getaway car, and while Sonny's meeting the Cubans in a house just off the route. Well, they had all the cards on the table, but that's when the law came busting in. Well, the Cubans grabbed the goodies, and Sonny grabbed the jack, and they all ran. And Sonny made it out to Sherry long enough to get her the money, but then that's when the law caught up with him. Well, there were some things that happened, and to make a long story short, Sonny ended up going to the chair. So Sherry, she was pretty good to herself. She ended up, buying herself a new Mercedes-Benz and still had a lot of money left over. And so that's actually how we got to this point right here, that Sherry has $100,000 with which to fund a scholarship to the Naval Academy. You see, this was going to be a tribute to Sonny because Sonny loved the Navy, wanted to join the Navy, but he just couldn't pass the test. And so Sherry's going to fund this scholarship to the Naval Academy. The first scholarship payment to be made 1 year from now is going to be $3,000, and then subsequent annual scholarship payments are going to increase by $100 each year into perpetuity. And Sherry wants to determine the minimum annual effective interest rate at which the money should be invested such that there's going to be enough money to pay for the scholarship, so there'll be sufficient funds to pay for the scholarship. Now, Sherry's not dumb. I mean, she knows what the timeline's going to look like, so she writes out the timeline. She's got $100,000 right now, and a year is going to be the first scholarship payment of $3,000, and then they're going to increase by $100 each year. So the timeline's going to look like this. But at this point, she's lost. She has no idea what to do at this point. But fortunately, Sherry knows an actuary named Chris. And so she asks Chris for help on this, and Chris says, Sherry, this is your lucky day, Sherry. Look, I'm from FSU, and Florida State has the best actuarial science program in the country. I've seen my professor do scores of problems like this, and you have a basic general increasing perpetuity immediate present value problem, and there's a formula for this type of problem. It's just the present value is P over I plus Q over I squared. Well, Sherry looks at Chris and says, Chris, quit, quit acting like an actuary. Just quit being an actuary and give me what the number is. And so Chris looks at it a little longer. He says, okay, well, this is just a P over I plus Q over I squared type problem. The P is the first payment, so the P is going to be $3,000. The Q is the amount of the increase of each payment, so the Q is going to be $100. So Chris puts in the $3,000 for I and for P and the $100 for Q. Recognizes that he needs to clear out the fraction. When he does so, he gets this quadratic, and then he puts it in standard form so he can recognize the A, the B, and the C, and then use the quadratic formula, and ignoring the extraneous negative solution, Chris gets an I value of 5%. He says, there you go, Sherry. There's your answer. So at 5%, you'll have exactly enough money. When you put $100,000 into that account, if you get 5%, you'll have exactly enough money to pay off this scholarship. If you have anything, if you get an interest rate less than that, you're going to run out of money. If you get an interest rate more than that, you'll have money left over. So your answer is 5%. The answer is 5%. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. I'd like to thank Robert Earl Keene for the storyline. And if you've ever heard the story of Sonny and Sherry before, give me a like or leave a comment and tell me what you think about my version of it. So I'll see you in the next video. All right, that was good. Made me thirsty though. Beer is good.